It was supposed to be a rescue. A mother had just received a terrifying phone call. The voice on the other end claimed her 21-year-old daughter had been kidnapped. There wasn't much time. Pay the money and maybe she'd come home alive. Like any parent would, Elizabeth Ngina Mulwa's mother didn't hesitate. She sent the money. Then her father rushed to the police station, desperate for help. But according to the family, they were told it was probably just a scam, a trick. No urgent rescue followed. No officers rushed to the scene. So Elizabeth's father did something no parent should ever have to do. He went to his daughter's rented house himself. He knocked. No answer. He called her phone. Silence. Then he broke the door down. What he found inside would horrify an entire nation. A bright young college student gone, brutally murdered, and the questions surrounding her death would only become darker from there. How did someone who had just spoken to her family end up dead? Who made that ransom call? Could this tragedy have been prevented? And perhaps the question that still haunts so many people today, was someone always one step ahead of everyone trying to save her? I'm Wanja, and this is Crime Dopers, where crime meets truth.
Twisted tales in every folder. Truth runs hot while the trail gets colder. Crime Dopers, we don't look away.
She's quite a bubbly girl, and I think the only thing we can say is what happened was beyond human thinking. I mean, how does someone just cut off her head of someone? We don't know where her head is. We only wish we could get it and get justice for her.
Hello Crime Dopers family, thank you for joining me once again. Before we begin, I want to give a small warning. Today's story involves violence against a young woman. I'll avoid unnecessary graphic descriptions because this story isn't about sensationalizing tragedy. It's about Elizabeth, it's about justice, and it's about the painful questions her family is still asking. If you've been following Kenyan news over the last few months, you've probably noticed something heartbreaking. Another woman, another student, another promising future stolen. For many people, Elizabeth Ngina Mulwa's death wasn't just another headline. It became a symbol of something much bigger. A growing fear among students living away from home. A conversation about safety, and a family desperately searching for answers. Today we are going to carefully walk through everything that is publicly known. We'll separate confirmed facts from claims that are still under investigation, because here on Crime Dopers, facts matter, and every victim deserves to have their story told with honesty. So, let's begin. Before Elizabeth became another face in the news, she was simply Liz, a daughter, a friend, a classmate, a young woman with dreams that were only beginning. Elizabeth Ngina Mulwa was just 21 years old. She was a second-year student pursuing agricultural extension at Thika Technical Training Institute. Like thousands of college students across Kenya, she lived far away from home, in a rented house near Kiang'ombe Estate in Thika. Anyone who has ever gone to college knows that feeling. Freedom, learning to budget, cooking your own meals, calling your parents every now and then to reassure them that everything is okay, even when life feels so overwhelming. Elizabeth was living that chapter, building her future one semester at a time. No one, not her classmates, not her lecturers, not her family, could have imagined that June 2026 will become the month that everything changed. Now, here's where this story starts becoming incredibly unsettling. According to information shared publicly by her family, Elizabeth suddenly became unreachable. Calls went unanswered, messages weren't being replied to. At first, that might not seem unusual. Yeah, college students get busy. Phones die, people take naps, but then everything changed. Elizabeth's mother received a phone call, not from Elizabeth, but from someone using Elizabeth's phone. Just pause there for a second. Imagine answering your child's phone only to hear a stranger. According to her family's public account, the caller claimed Elizabeth was in danger and demanded money. Her mother reportedly sent the requested funds in the hope of saving her daughter's life. These are claims made by the family and form part of the circumstances that investigators have been examining. Think about that. You're a parent, someone tells you your child is in danger. Would you stop to question whether it's real, or would you send whatever you could? Most parents already know the answer. Elizabeth's father, identified publicly as Musembi, reportedly rushed to the police station after learning about the call. According to the family's account, they hoped authorities would treat the report as an emergency. Now here's the question you have to ask yourself. If someone reports what appears to be a kidnapping, how quickly should that response begin? Because every minute matters, every second matters, especially if a life could be saved. According to the family's public statements, they felt the report was not treated with the urgency they expected. Police investigations into the homicide later continued separately after Elizabeth's body was discovered. Whether an earlier intervention could have changed the outcome remains unknown. And that's one of the most painful questions hanging over this case. Unable to get answers, Elizabeth's father decided to go to her house himself. Just imagine that journey. You're praying, you're bargaining with God, you're convincing yourself that maybe, just maybe, your daughter will open the door and laugh about the misunderstanding. But when he arrived, there was no answer, no movement, nothing. He knocked, he called, still nothing. Then he forced the door open. Inside, he found Elizabeth, dead. Police and neighbors later responded to the scene after the discovery. Detectives opened a homicide investigation into her killing. No parent should ever have to make that discovery. No father should have to become the first witness to his own child's murder. And from that moment, this was no longer a missing person case. It had become one of Kenya's most disturbing homicide investigations. Coming up, we'll look at what investigators found inside the house, the questions surrounding Elizabeth's final movements, and why this case quickly captured national attention. Because once detectives stepped into that room, the mystery only deepened.
Na kijana akiulizwa anasema yeye alienda nyumbani sijui Tuesday. Na kurudi ndiye akapata nyumba yake imefungwa. Na wakati alipata imefungwa akaenda kutafuta ile kifunguo ya spare. Kufungua akaingia ndani. Wakati aliingia juni hii bed sita, kuna karai ilikuwa hapo, akijaribu kusukuma ingie chini ya kitanda akasikia karai ingi. Ndio hapo kuangalia akaona mwili wa Elisa uko hapo chini.
When a homicide like this happens, time becomes everything. Every minute that passes, memories fade. Security camera footage gets overwritten. Phone batteries die. Witnesses leave town. Evidence disappears. That's why detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, better known as the DCI, moved quickly to secure Elizabeth's apartment and begin piecing together what happened during her final hours. But here's the thing. A crime scene can tell investigators how a crime happened. It doesn't always tell them why. And in Elizabeth's case, the why may be the biggest mystery of all.
There are multiple stabbings, more than 37 stabbings from the back. And still now we don't have the upper part of the body, which is the head, and also the neck. From the neck and the head is still missing, and 3 fingers from each hand. So investigators are still working on with the agencies to acquire more information about the incident. But what I can say is the scene is very horrific. No parent will ever want to receive their kid, a child, in such a manner. It is very horrific. It it means that the person who did this really did it with a lot of anger. We might not know the motive behind the murder. Actually, we might not even refer it as murder. It's more of a slaughter because it is very meticulous.
Let's go back to that phone call, because I don't think we can overstate how significant it is. According to Elizabeth's family, someone contacted them using Elizabeth's own phone. The caller demanded money. Elizabeth's mother reportedly sent it immediately, hoping her daughter was still alive. Meanwhile, Elizabeth's father rushed to the police station seeking urgent help. According to his account, he felt the report wasn't treated with the seriousness he believed the situation demanded. Now, put yourself in his shoes. Your daughter is supposedly being held against her will. Someone is demanding money. You're doing exactly what people tell you to do. Report it, get help, trust the authorities, and yet, hours later, you're the one breaking down your daughter's door. That sequence of events has become one of the most painful aspects of this case, not because it proves anyone could have changed the outcome. We simply don't know that, but because every parent naturally wonders, what if? What if help had arrived sooner? What if officers had gone to the apartment immediately? Would anything have been different? Those questions remain unanswered, and they are likely to remain unanswered forever. Now, detectives weren't just investigating a murder. They were also investigating what appeared to be an extortion attempt. According to information shared publicly, investigators began examining the reported mobile money transaction connected to the ransom demand. The goal? To determine exactly where the money went, who received it, whether the receiving phone number was registered using genuine identification, and whether those digital footprints could lead detectives directly to the person responsible. If you've watched enough true crime, you already know. Criminals often forget one thing. Technology remembers. Phones connect to towers. Money leaves trails. CCTV cameras don't get emotional. They're silent witnesses. And sometimes, they're the most reliable witnesses investigators have. Another lead detectives reportedly examined was a travel receipt recovered from Elizabeth's belongings. According to reports, it suggested she had recently traveled between Thika and Nakuru. Now, on its own, a bus receipt doesn't solve a murder, but in the hands of investigators, it becomes a timeline. Who boarded with her? Who sat nearby? Did she meet someone after arriving? Did anyone recognize her? Were there cameras at the bus stage? These are exactly the kind of questions detectives ask. Sometimes a tiny piece of paper becomes the thread that unravels an entire case. As investigators worked behind the scenes, public attention shifted toward a man police had arrested in connection with the killing. Reports identified him as a Nigerian national. But let's be very careful here. An arrest is not a conviction. And until a court determines guilt based on evidence, every suspect is presumed innocent. Police had not publicly announced a motive. They hadn't laid out a complete reconstruction of Elizabeth's final hours, and many forensic findings had not yet been released publicly. That silence frustrated many people, but it's also common in active homicide investigations. Investigators often keep critical evidence confidential, not because they don't have answers, but because releasing too much too soon can compromise a future prosecution.
We plead with the public, if there's anyone who has information that can assist the through the investigations, just come forth so that we can get justice for Elizabeth. See now also with the missing parts, as time goes by, we'll advise on the way forward. But as at now, we are still working towards finding the rest of the parts of the body, so that now even when we are sending Elizabeth to rest well, we are hopeful that at that moment we'll have all the parts, if not all of them, but maybe the most important one, which is the head. So as at now we cannot really address that now, but we're not in a rush in as much as we want to also lay her to rest.
Then there was another issue, one that sparked intense public debate. According to publicly reported accounts, questions were raised about the police response after Elizabeth's father first reported the ransom call. The family believed the warning signs should have triggered a more urgent response. Reports later indicated that there were discussions about reviewing the handling of the initial report, although details remained limited while investigations continued. Now, it's important to separate emotion from evidence. Public criticism doesn't automatically mean procedures were violated. Likewise, an ongoing review doesn't automatically mean anyone acted negligently. Those are matters that require evidence. But what is undeniable is the pain experienced by Elizabeth's family, because from their perspective, they did exactly what any family will do. They asked for help, and they still lost their daughter.
We're still very aggrieved as a family, and we're still looking forward to getting justice for our young girl. And most importantly, as the others in the family have said, if we can have someone who knows, we know there's someone who knows, and please give us a clue to get ahead. And I think on that note, we call upon all agencies in the country. It's not business as usual, because these things are happening. They are all over the country right now, and the cases are getting gross by the day. And we wish that all agencies can come around, have a sitting and discuss what is the way forward. And also calling to our young ones and everyone else, not even our young ones, even the mature people. Please, if you don't agree, you can just leave each other and separate without having to take someone through such a gruesome and horrific slaughter or femicide or whatever is happening. It's so gross and painful.
As details continued emerging, the story spread far beyond Thika. Students across different institutions began asking difficult questions. Are we safe living off campus? Do landlords really know who is living in these buildings? What happens if one of us goes missing? Elizabeth's murder became more than a criminal investigation. It became a national conversation about student safety. Student leaders called for stronger security measures in private hostels, including better lighting, controlled visitor access, functioning CCTV systems, and closer collaboration with local police. Community leaders also pushed for increased patrols around areas with large student populations. Because here's a heartbreaking reality. Many students in university and college live far from home. They're independent for the first time. Their parents aren't nearby. If something goes wrong, those first few hours matter. And I think that's why Elizabeth's story resonated with so many people. She wasn't famous, she wasn't wealthy. She was simply a young woman trying to build a future. She could have been your sister, your daughter, your classmate, your friend, which makes this case feel deeply personal for so many Kenyans. Coming up, we'll step back from the investigation and look at the bigger picture. Why are so many young women becoming victims of extreme violence? What lessons can we learn from Elizabeth's story? And most importantly, what can each of us do to help ensure another family never has to experience this kind of heartbreak? Because sometimes, justice isn't only about solving one case, it's about preventing the next one.
She's quite a bubbly girl, and I think the only thing we can say is what happened was beyond human thinking. I mean, how does someone just cut off a head of someone? We don't know where our head is. We only wish we could get it and get justice for her.
By now, you've probably noticed something. Elizabeth's story isn't just about one horrific night inside a rented apartment. It's about everything that happened before and everything that happened after. Because long before detectives arrived, there were opportunities, phone calls, warning signs, moments where someone might have noticed something wasn't right. Whether those moments could have changed the outcome is something we may never know. But they force us to ask difficult questions. Questions that don't end with Elizabeth. Let's talk about fear. Not the fear we feel listening to true crime stories. I'm talking about the fear parents carry every single day after dropping their children off at college. Think about it. A parent spends nearly 2 decades protecting their child, then one day they pack a suitcase, help them move into a hostel or a rented apartment, wave goodbye, and hope the world will be kind to them. For most families, that's exactly what happens. Their child graduates, gets a job, starts a family, but for Elizabeth's family, that chapter never came. Instead of planning a graduation, they were planning a funeral. That reality is almost impossible to comprehend. And sadly, Elizabeth's murder came at a time when Kenya was already grappling with growing concern over violence against women. Each new case seemed to leave the public asking the same painful question. Why does this keep happening? There isn't one simple answer. Sometimes it's intimate partner violence, sometimes it's robbery, sometimes it's sexual violence, sometimes investigators never establish a clear motive publicly. Every case is different, but every victim lives behind the same thing. A family trying to understand why. Now, there's another part of this story that deserves attention: student housing. Thousands of university and college students across Kenya live in private rentals. Some are secure, others not so much. Many buildings have no CCTV, no controlled entry, no caretaker on duty overnight. Visitors walk in unnoticed, people come and go, and unless something goes wrong, nobody asks questions. Following Elizabeth's death, student leaders and local stakeholders called for stronger security measures around off-campus residences, including gated access, functioning surveillance cameras, better lighting, visitor screening, and closer coordination with local police. Those conversations matter because safety shouldn't begin after a tragedy. It should exist long before one happens. Another lesson from this case is digital safety. We often think danger only exists in dark streets, but today, our phones carry our entire lives. Our location, our conversations, our financial records, our contacts. According to the family's account, Elizabeth's phone was allegedly used to contact her mother during the reported extortion attempt. If investigators confirm exactly who used that phone and when, that digital evidence could become a significant part of understanding the sequence of events. Technology can be used to protect us, but in the wrong hands, it can also be used to manipulate, which is why it's so important to have safety plans with the people you love. Simple things: sharing trusted contacts, checking in after arriving home, letting someone know if plans suddenly change. None of this guarantees safety, but they create a network, and sometimes that network can save a life. There's also something I don't want us to overlook. Elizabeth wasn't defined by the way she died. Too often, true crime unintentionally turns victims into crime scenes. We remember headlines instead of lives. But before June 2026, Elizabeth was a student. She attended classes. She laughed with friends. She had assignments she probably complained about. She had dreams she hadn't yet accomplished. She was building a future. That future deserves to be remembered, not just the violence that stole it. Now, here's something I keep coming back to. Imagine Elizabeth's classmates walking back into lecture halls after her death. The empty seat, the unanswered messages, the realization that someone they spoke to days earlier would never answer again. That kind of grief changes people. It changes campuses, it changes communities, and sometimes it changes a nation. Because cases like this become turning points. They force conversations that were long overdue about relationships, about warning signs, about how institutions respond to emergencies, about how we protect young women living far away from home. So, where does the investigation stand? At the time of recording this episode, detectives had arrested a suspect and the homicide investigation remained active. Authorities had not publicly disclosed a complete motive or all of the forensic findings, meaning many of the questions surrounding Elizabeth's final hours were still awaiting answers through the legal process. And that's an important reminder: justice isn't delivered through social media. It isn't delivered through rumors. It's delivered through evidence, through investigations, through the courts, and sometimes through patience, even when patience is incredibly painful. There's something about cases like Elizabeth's. They don't leave you when the episode ends. You finish researching, you close your laptop, you walk away, but somehow you still carry them with you. Maybe it's because Elizabeth was only 21. Maybe it's because she was a student with her whole life ahead of her. Or maybe it's because this case reminds us that evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides behind familiarity, behind trust, behind an ordinary day that begins like every other. And then everything changes. As I prepared this episode, I kept thinking about Elizabeth's parents. Not the headlines, not the crime scene, her parents. Imagine waking up every morning knowing your child's number is still saved in your phone, but you'll never hear their voice again. Imagine walking past their bedroom, seeing their photos, their clothes, their school certificates, their dreams, frozen in time. No parent should ever have to bury their child, and certainly not under circumstances as violent as these. Before we end, I want to say this. True crime shall never become entertainment at the expense of victims. Here on Crime Dopers, our goal is different. We tell these stories to remember, to learn, to encourage accountability, and hopefully to help prevent further tragedies. If Elizabeth's story encourages even one student to be more cautious, or reminds one parent to make one extra phone call, or inspires one landlord to improve security, then her story may continue protecting others. And that matters. If you have credible information that could assist investigators in the death of Elizabeth Ngina Mulwa, please report it directly to the nearest police station or the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. Even information that seems small could prove significant when combined with other evidence. Please avoid sharing unverified rumors or graphic images online. They can cause additional pain to grieving families and may interfere with ongoing investigations. And today's Crime Dopers life rule is this: always let someone you trust know where you're going, who you are meeting, and when you expect to return. It may feel unnecessary in the moment, but it could become the timeline that helps bring you home or helps investigators find the truth. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you believe stories like Elizabeth's deserve to be told with compassion, truth, and respect, don't forget to subscribe to Crime Dopers and share this episode with someone who values justice over rumors. If you're watching on YouTube, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What changes do you think are needed to make off-campus housing safer for students in Kenya? Let's keep the conversation respectful. Let's honor Elizabeth's memory. Until next time, I'm Wanja, and this has been Crime Dopers, where crime meets truth. Stay safe, stay alert, and I will see you in the next episode.
Crime Dopers. We don't look away.